Happy Wednesday. Welcome into our Sports Burst studios. On our agenda today, the reigning European champions are back to training. We check out images as Jurgen Klopp and co. return to work. Then Neymar's agent, Wagner Ribeiro, has said he believes he knows what Neymar will do this summer. We have that report. And what could it mean for Juventus, PSG, and Barcelona? And today is a no bueno day for Ter Stegen. We explain why, plus who is the Scottie Pippen of the soccer world, and we have breaking news out of La Liga. Sports Burst starts now. Breaking news straight out of La Liga. Aritz Aduriz has just announced his retirement from professional football. The 39-year-old legend had announced at the beginning of this season that this would be his final season, but a hip injury has made him unable to see out the campaign. Aduriz kicked off this season in astounding fashion, scoring that overhead kick against Barcelona in the first match of the season after coming on just a minute earlier to bag his side 3 points. An 89th minute winner in true Aduriz style. It was the perfect start, and the perfect ending was also in the works, guys. For the first time in history, a Basque derby Copa del Rey final between Athletic Bilbao and Real Sociedad was in the cards. But life, as it often does, had other plans. He won't be playing in that final, and his 20-year career has officially come to an end. What an astounding moment. Let's get the full Sports Burst squad in. George DiMattalis and Thomas Rongen virtually in the house, guys. This is breaking news. It just broke within the half hour. I was shocked. You know, we knew that this was going to be his final season, but we all expected him to play in that Copa del Rey final. George, your initial reaction?
Well, I was disappointed because, as you mentioned, I wanted to see him play in that final. But when you look back at his career, I think of Fountain of Youth. I mean, Ponce de Leon traveled to the Americas to find a Fountain of Youth. Maybe he should have gone to Basque Country because the Fountain of Youth is there with the way Aritz Aduriz came on and scored so many goals in the later part of his career, especially if I remember correctly, he moved to Athletic Club from Valencia, if I remember correctly. So this is it's kind of sad because he was giving us who are older, we'll put it that way, giving us as someone to aspire to say, hey, okay, maybe we can't play professional, but we still can do something athletic at a high level. And he's no longer going to be playing. But I would have loved to see him in that Copa del Rey final. But he had a career that he should be very proud of, and Athletic Club fans should be very proud of.
You're absolutely right, George. He did come to Athletic Bilbao back from Valencia at the age of 31. A lot of people think, oh, okay, 31-year-old striker, this is the beginning of the end. But it was really the beginning of the beginning for him. He kept scoring more goals as he got older. And just like you said, a true representation of the Fountain of Youth. So much to break down in Aritz Aduriz's career, and we'll be doing that more on Sports Burst PM. But Thomas, your initial reaction?
I agree with George. Although 39 for a field player is not easy, and that's a tribute to how he's taken care of himself throughout his career. We all know him of, mostly Bilbao, where he started and came back to again, scored over 150 goals for that club, represented Spain, represented actually the Basque team in the 2060 Euro qualification as well. A very proud Basque man, a guy that had a great first touch, strong in the air, and he will be missed. But first and foremost, his leadership qualities throughout his career put him in a position to play longer than most other players do. So I say goodbye with a heavy heart to Aduriz.
Absolutely, and I do want to read a statement, a portion of his statement that he posted on social media. He said, yesterday the doctors told me to go see the surgeon sooner rather than later to get a prosthetic to replace my hip and try to go about my everyday life. Unfortunately, my body has said enough. I can't help my teammates the way that I would like to, and he has decided to mark the end of his career. Just like you said, Thomas, 158 goals scored in La Liga. He's the Spaniard with the second highest goal tally in La Liga, and he's also the only man to score in 15 consecutive La Liga seasons besides Lionel Messi. So what a career. And like I said, we're going to break down his career and dissect it further with George DiMattalis and Phil Shane in our PM edition of Sports Burst. So you guys definitely won't want to miss that. We're going to shift gears. We're going to talk about the man who's long been linked with a return to Barcelona and most recently linked with a sensational move to Juventus. He's making headlines yet again. His name is Neymar. This time, his agent Wagner Ribeiro has spoken to Fox Sports and said, quote, "I think Neymar will stay at PSG because the transfer market is different. The economic world of football will change." Let's begin the conversation with a simple question to you both. Removing Neymar's wishes, which we know is to return to Barcelona, is this actually good news for him, or would you say it's bad news? George, we'll begin with you.
Well, as they say in French, bravo. Bravo, because I think he should stay at PSG. It's a good move for him. Look, he still has things to accomplish at PSG. He can probably get paid more at PSG than he would at any other club on the continent. And he is along with Mbappe, those two are the faces of the franchise. So he still has a lot to prove at PSG. And we all know PSG, they made that deal with the Jordan brand. You saw The Last Dance, and Jordan had to fight through the teams to get the Bulls to a championship. I feel he can cement his legacy as an all-time great if he can fight through the Barcelona, the Real Madrids, the Bayerns to get PSG a Champions League trophy, because we know they're going to dominate Ligue 1. That's not a problem for them. What the issue is going to be them winning Champions League, and I think he can do that. So I think it's the right move for him to stay. Play with Mbappe. You don't get a chance to play with a generational talent like a Messi, Mbappe, Cristiano Ronaldo. So you don't want to leave one. You don't want to leave PSG if you have a young Mbappe that you can play with and possibly win multiple Champions League. So I think it's a good move for him to stay at PSG.
Thomas, your thoughts? Good news or bad news?
Well, it's all down to economics. And then when finally his agent comes out and pretty much now closes that door completely, that has been open for quite some time, and Barca has not bitten yet. Even when Leonardo, the technical director at PSG, had offered him around 160. I think they are not happy with the way Barca pursued this. Barca's reckless spending, $1 billion plus in the last 5 years, so much unwanted players that take up so much salary as well. No revenue, no TV deal. They had to close the museum in the stadium, which was $60 million a year. All their shops, the Barca shops, are closed. The academies right now in the United States, which grossed them about $40 million, is done as well. And this club right now is not in a great financial situation. And on top of that, when Messi was asked a few days ago about Lautaro Martinez, he was all gushy. And when they asked about Neymar, even Messi now has soured and was somewhat tight-lipped about this. So I think it's done and dusted. And as George said, it's probably for Neymar the right situation to stay at PSG, not only win something in France, but have a possibility this year or next year, I think, to win the Champions League.
Let's hit the comment section. Mustafa Gabur saying he should 1,000% or 10,000%, that is, stay at PSG. Gabriel Pessoa saying Ney should stay, conquer the world with Mbappe for a couple of years. Why not? I'm going to get back to that point in just a couple seconds. PL Noble saying Neymar needs to win the Champions League, then leave. Boy, PSG would love that. Richard Murray saying I said Neymar will stay. Why leave? PSG can win the Champions League and start a dynasty. So everyone agreeing with you, George. On the point of Mbappe also linked heavily with the move potentially to Real Madrid. Move has since been pushed back, maybe the summer of 2021. Some even saying maybe the summer of 2022. This pretty much solidifies the fact that if Neymar stays, Mbappe should also stay, and the two should once again try and conquer and win it all. Would you agree, George?
Yes, I agree 1,000%. Or how much did Mustafa say? 10,000%? I agree with that much. Yeah. Look, 10,000? Okay, then 10,000% I agree with that. Look, Mbappe has to establish himself. He's already established himself as a great player, but he can raise his stake, raise his level if he can win a Champions League with PSG. PSG has never won the Champions League. Real Madrid has, 13 European Cups / Champions League? So he can become an icon by doing it at PSG. Let's see, he does it back-to-back, twice, 3 times, and then make the move to Real Madrid. And if PSG's smart from a business standpoint, you hold on Mbappe, you win a couple Champions League, and then you jack up the price. So you got a 22, 23-year-old kid who wins 2 Champions League, maybe gets a Ballon d'Or in there, and instead of $250 million, you say, all right, Real Madrid, you want him? Give me $400 million. So from a business standpoint, PSG is smart to keep him. From a footballer standpoint and legacy standpoint, it's smart for Mbappe to stay at PSG.
Thomas, would you advise Mbappe to stay at PSG if Neymar decides to stay so that the two playing together can maybe up their profiles even more? What's your take on that?
Yeah, there might be some similarities between Messi and Neymar, and the reason why Messi left actually Barcelona, because Messi obviously was the dominant force. Neymar would have never been the #1 player, and he wanted to go to PSG to be #1 basically. And there you got Mbappe and some other very talented players on this PSG shop. Yeah, I think he should stay, more so for his own development. He's one of the youngest stars in the world right now that still needs some progress, tactical progress, making the right runs, understanding in that final third how to play in tight spaces. If I see a move this transfer window, it wouldn't surprise me if it's Mbappe. There's still a few clubs out there that might be willing to show the world that they don't care about the pandemic and are willing to spend some crazy money on probably right now the best young player by far in the world. So he might stay. I hope he goes to Real Madrid this year, take that mantle of Ronaldo that nobody was able to do because Bale failed dramatically, and they need some help right there in goal scoring with Benzema being struggling. I like Mbappe's growth to be at Real Madrid under Zidane, by the way, a Frenchman that I think can make him better than Thomas Tuchel can.
Interesting. Lorena Rivas puts it best. Can't trust anything associated with Neymar. We will be talking about a possible return to Barcelona again this summer. And Lorena, you're probably right. But for now, we'll listen to what Neymar's agent says, and then he's staying put. Let's switch gears. Liverpool are back at Melwood today following protocols of small group training as the Premier League table toppers return to work for the first time since March 13th, Friday the 13th. The Premier League voted unanimously on Monday to return to training. Of the 748 tests done across 19 clubs, 6 have returned with positive confirmed cases of COVID-19. Those confirmed cases are at Burnley and Watford. Those are the 2 clubs that we know of. During this break, transfers have taken center stage, of course, as we've been discussing all show long. And the big one for Liverpool fans is the link to Timo Werner. If Timo arrives, who gets bumped out of that Liverpool front line for you, George?
Oh, that's a tough one right there because Mane is great, Salah is great, Firmino is great. Ooh, I mean, my first guess, I don't know. I don't know if none of them are worth bumping Timo Werner. Timo Werner they might just have some depth there. I don't think either one of them, I don't think that Liverpool should get rid of either one of them for Timo Werner. I haven't seen much of Timo Werner play. I know he has a decent goal-scoring record, and he didn't do much with Germany in the last World Cup. So, honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't think Liverpool should make this move if they're going to spend all that money. You got to keep Firmino, you got to keep Sadio Mane, and you got to keep Salah because all 3 of them work brilliantly and perfectly in Klopp's system.
And you're not wrong with that sentiment, George, or alone, I should say, because a lot of people do agree that perhaps Liverpool don't need Timo Werner. They don't really understand the obsession with him. Thomas, what's your take on this rumor that we've been hearing about for months? Liverpool now back in training. You see the stars that they have on their roster. It feels like they don't really need him. And if they do bring him in, someone's going to have to go. So who would it be for you?
No, they do need him, and for several reasons. Liverpool is probably one of the few clubs, top clubs in the world. Let's take the top 6 right now that doesn't have enough depth up front. I'm not saying that any of those 3 need to get bumped, but to be real honest with you, Firmino's got 8 goals this season. Timo Werner's got 21. Timo Werner's heat map, he could play all 3 positions. You remember Salah got injured when Ramos sarcastically injured him against Liverpool. All of a sudden, that loss of Salah could not be replaced because they didn't have the quality depth. Firmino is a false 9/number 10. The reason why he's not high on the scoring charts is because he really drops into midfield and becomes a playmaker. Those 2 actually could work very well together. The high 9 with Timo Werner leading the line, maybe Firmino underneath, 2 holding midfielders, Salah and Mane outlined. I understand totally that Jurgen Klopp wants this kid to come to Liverpool at age 24, and there will be many, many minutes and games for any of those four guys up front to be played, because the big clubs play obviously in 3 or 4 different Champions League, their league play, their cup play. In England it's even more. So to me it makes a lot of sense in order to do that. And as we also know, Mane is sought after. Can you sell Mane for twice the price and get a Timo Werner back? Maybe that makes sense, but I would keep all 3 and add Timo Werner to the Liverpool starting 11, or let's say that starting group of 14, 15 that you need to rotate if you play in so many competitions.
Our comment section does have an opinion on this, and differing opinions. Jorge Wilfurtado saying Timo would stay on the bench, and if Mo Salah leaves, then he'll start. Interesting. Brendan Burns saying, I don't think they should make the move personally. Just focus on Kai Havertz, who lit it up on Monday and has been the talk of the town. He seems to be the real true replacement for Firmino, but like you said, Thomas, Timo Werner a little bit more versatile. Mustafa Gabur saying, I truly think Inter Milan will go all out for Timo Werner, especially to replace Lautaro Martinez. Well, the rumor on the street, Mustafa, is that Inter are looking at Cavani to replace Lautaro Martinez if Lautaro Martinez does go to Barcelona. So an interesting one there. Some breaking news today, actually. After much discussion and back and forth, Manuel Neuer has extended his contract with Bayern Munich until June 2023. Now, his contract was set to expire actually this month, but has been extended for another 3 years, meaning Neuer will be at Bayern until he's 37 years old. This is interesting news for Ter Stegen, though, who is linked with the potential move to Bayern, as his contracts with Barcelona have reportedly stalled. I want to ask you guys, does Neuer extending his contract with Bayern mean he also extends his contract as Germany's #1 keeper, the position that really should be going to Ter Stegen, but for whatever reason is stuck with Manuel Neuer? George, your take on that?
Well, it appears so. And I think the big problem that Ter Stegen has is that he's not playing in Germany. I think that's the big issue. If he was doing what he was doing, let's say for Dortmund, or another big team in Germany, Schalke, or Mönchengladbach, or Red Bull Leipzig, I think he would be more seriously considered for that #1 shirt for Germany. But he's not playing in Germany, and the Bundesliga, for whatever you think, is maybe a little more direct league, a little more of an attack-minded offensive league, maybe a little more goal scoring in that league, just slightly over La Liga. So maybe they feel Neuer's is better tested in the Bundesliga. I don't know if that's true, but that's been a thought that's been floated out there. But I think that Ter Stegen not playing in Germany, and you consider how great German football is with all the talented players in every position that they have, is hurting them in terms of being the #1 for the Nationalmannschaft. And Manuel Neuer is the incumbent, if you will, for the biggest team in Germany, one of the top 5, top 10 biggest clubs in all of world football. Ter Stegen is going to have a lot to do. He's going to have to it seems like he's going to have to wait till Manuel Neuer retires in order to get that #1 shirt for the German national team.
Thomas, your take, should Ter Stegen be Germany's #1, but does Neuer's contract extension make that unlikely?
Well, yeah, it probably does make it unlikely. This is clearly a contract that allows him to stay with Bayern. That's one of the contenders in the Champions League. I would rate him right now above Barca in order to win it. Just as I do PSG right now, I think is better than Barca. But that doesn't mean that Ter Stegen is a bad goalkeeper. He's one of the best in the world. But Neuer has this long-lasting relationship. One of the first sweeper keepers, by the way. And he's #1 in passes. All right, and Ter Stegen is not even in the top 5, which is Kepa is 3. The goalkeeper at Manchester City is 4, and Ter Stegen is out of 1,000 passes he made last year. Almost 50 went on shots on goal, and 8 were goals as well. So we looked at Ter Stegen with his assists. But Neuer has a few things going for him. He plays in Germany, as George said. The backbone of the national team is Bayern. And the leader of Bayern the revered leader of Bayern is Neuer. Neuer is strong in his personality, always puts Ter Stegen down, and I think that Jogi Löw is looking at a group of 6 or 7 Bayern players that he doesn't want to upset in order to put Ter Stegen in, although deep down he might think that Ter Stegen is the better goalkeeper of the two. But people that follow the Bundesliga, Neuer, by the way, over 100+ games in the Bundesliga, looking at goalkeepers, 0.78 goals against. You look at this year, Ter Stegen, it's over a goal against. And both teams are very attacking teams. He might still be better coming off his line and playing outside of the 18-yard box to quell counterattacks than Ter Stegen is. It's a tough one. It's a a toss-up. But I'm afraid that if Neuer stays healthy, he'll continue to be the #1 for Bayern and will play in the Euros and the World Cup again for Germany, and then he'll be done.
It certainly looks that way. Ryan Moran saying, if Ter Stegen is allowed to leave Barca, I will poop in a bag and leave it on Bartomeu's doorstep. Well, luckily for you, Ryan, and for Bartomeu not to find that on his doorstep, I'm sure that a Ter Stegen contract extension is coming up in the coming days, as Neuer has extended with Bayern. PL Noble saying, mostly he will continue to be Germany #1 goalkeeper. Yes, we also agree. And Wisam Tapo saying Manuel will stay #1 for Germany at least for 3 more years. It does appear that way. Well, the soccer gods made this day 2 years ago a very moving one, an emotional one, guys. It was Iniesta's last match at the Camp Nou. It was Xavi's last ever professional match with Al Sadd, and it was the day Fernando Torres said goodbye to Atletico Madrid. Of these 3 megastars, which has left the biggest hole in your heart, George?
Oh, for me, it's Andres Iniesta, and it's close between him and Xavi, but it's Andres Iniesta. To me, Andres Iniesta is the personification of what football skill and technique is all about. If you're a kid watching football and you're not the tallest, you're not the strongest, you're not the fastest, but you have great technique and touch, you can be a force in this game, and Iniesta proved that. And I always say, you have to dispossess him of the ball. You have to shoot him in both kneecaps and both ankles. I mean, he was magnificent on the ball. Like I said, he wasn't the fastest or the strongest, but his skill and his ability on the ball, the way he can pick out a pass, made him just extraordinary. Him and Xavi were just tremendous. To me, both of them were great, but Iniesta, for me, just the way he was able to play the game without being the best athlete, or he wasn't even the top 7 athlete on the pitch or for Barcelona, but he still was an absolute nightmare to opposition midfields and opposition defenses. So to me, it's Iniesta.
What about for you, Thomas?
You can make a case for all. They're all brilliant. And George just mentioned some of the reasons why he picked Iniesta. I'm just maybe now look at the current Barca team, and I go, the player they might miss the most in midfield is Xavi. Not for all his great, his skill set, but I think the mentality, the toughness, getting into people's faces. He would never allow this Barcelona team to lose at Liverpool, to lose against Roma, to struggle in the Copa del Rey or whatever it might be, because of his edge and his mentality, outside of the fact that he was absolutely brilliant, just like Iniesta was as well. I think if I look at the current Barca squad, I say if you put Xavi back in that starting 11, he will pull this team together, because he's nasty in his interviews, the way he plays, that Puyol and him kind of mentality over my dead body. That's what I think Barca is lacking right now, and that's something that Xavi would bring to the plate and did bring to the plate for many, many years.
Great points from both of you. All right, and last up, with Michael Jordan fever still breaking thermometers, we decided to do the latest install of our MJ game. We asked you guys who is the Michael Jordan of soccer, then we asked you who is the Dennis Rodman of soccer, and now who is the Scottie Pippen of the soccer world. Georgie, you're up first.
My answer is Luis Suarez, because Luis Suarez is a great Robin, but he's as Batman. You know, he's a player that is a fantastic support, but he needs a superstar to help him win trophies. Obviously, what he did at Barcelona. Remember, he had a great season at Liverpool and did not win the title because he didn't have that #1 superstar. Same thing with Uruguay. Won a Copa America, but it was Diego Forlán who was the Batman. So I say Luis Suarez is Scottie Pippen because he's a great number 2. He's okay. He's not great as number 1, but as a number 2, he's fantastic. And Pippen was great as a number 2.
Thomas, who's your Pippen?
It's Ben's, and similar to what George said, obviously, all the qualities he brought to the plate, the willingness to sacrifice for Ronaldo, the willingness to share with Ronaldo while he was in great positions where he maybe could score a goal, but always, as I said again, the enabler, the guy that was willing to go the extra yard for another player. I think that Benzema epitomizes what a number 2 should look like, should act like, both on and not as much maybe off the field with Benz, but clearly on the field. Benzema is my Scottie Pippen of the soccer world.
Fantastic. Clayton Brown saying Neymar while at Barca was football's Scottie Pippen. Richard Murray saying Dani Alves, good shout. Jude Patrick Alexis, CR7 is my Pippen. Jude Patrick Alexis, explain that to me, who CR7 was the number 2 to. And tonight on Sports First PM, we're breaking down Haaland, Mbappe, Messi, and Ronaldo's numbers at 19 years old. Who tops the list? We have answers for you. See you at 7.